Alternative proteins? They're having a moment right now, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Seems like everyone's kind of buzzing about sustainable solutions for feeding, a growing planet.
I think so.
Well, today,
Yeah.
we're diving into how one company's tackling this
Okay.
with a very unique approach.
All right.
Growing meat from animal cells.
That's right.
Yeah, no farm, no livestock, at least not in the traditional sense.
Not in the traditional sense, no.
We're checking out Ivy Farm Technologies.
Okay.
They're a startup,
All right.
and they're aiming to be one of the first to bring this so-called cultivated meat to our plates.
It's a bold idea, for sure.
Yeah.
Trying to, I guess, revolutionize how we make meat.
Right. And our source material today is a CNBC video
Oh, right.
that takes us behind the scenes
Okay.
at their facility in Oxford, England.
Cool.
So, have you ever been curious about, how this all works?
I am, yeah.
Or maybe you're even a little skeptical. Well, this deep dive is for you.
Awesome.
What exactly is cultivated meat anyway?
So think of it as real meat,
Okay.
but it's just got a different origin story instead of, raising and slaughtering animals.
Right.
Scientists take a small sample of animal cells and they kind of cultivate them in a controlled environment. It's kind of like, a very high-tech lab.
Yeah, almost like a super lab or something.
Exactly.
Right? And the CNBC video, it really paints this picture for you. We're not talking about, rolling fields and stuff. It's scientists in lab coats working with bioreactors, which are basically these big tanks.
That's right.
Where the magic happens.
Yeah, that's where it all goes down.
It's pretty wild to see.
Yeah.
They even show us their prototype.
Okay.
And it's ground beef. That's a blend of 90% plant-based protein and 10% cultivated meat cells.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like a
hybrid.
Yeah, a hybrid approach. They're combining this cutting-edge tech with, familiar ingredients.
Right.
Which, that could be key to achieving those tastes and textures that people are used to.
Totally, yeah. So speaking of which, let's break down Ivy Farm's process.
Okay.
The video, it kind of takes us step by step through a tour.
All right.
Starting with sourcing cells from specific cattle breeds.
Okay.
Like Aberdeen Angus and Wagyu.
I see.
Yeah. And this is where it gets really interesting. They put these cells through rigorous stress tests.
Oh, wow.
To select the ones that thrive best in a lab setting.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like choosing the strongest seeds for a garden.
Yeah, that makes sense.
On a cellular level,
I see.
So then these super cells, they get to multiply in this nutrient-rich soup, basically.
Yeah.
That's tailored for their needs.
Right.
It even contains things like omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids.
Wow, that's interesting.
And then everything gets super sterilized.
Right.
Cleanliness is key here.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then before it's scaled up, in those big bioreactors we mentioned, they even have one nicknamed Betty.
Oh, really?
That was originally used to make insulin.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's it shows, how they're adapting existing technology in creative ways.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes about the ingenuity driving this whole field forward.
Yeah, and the end product.
Yeah.
So what comes out of these bioreactors is kind of like a meat paste.
Yeah.
And Ivy Farm is experimenting with blending this with plant protein to create familiar textures.
Yeah.
So think burgers, sausages, or ground meat.
Yeah.
But the big question on everyone's mind is this ethically sound?
Right. It's a valid point and one that the video addresses.
Yeah.
So right now, Ivy Farm,
Okay.
they partner with a company in Northern Ireland. And this company, they use cells from animals that are already destined for slaughter.
Okay.
So, they're not raising any extra animals just for this purpose.
Okay. And here's the kicker.
Okay.
Their long-term goal is to eliminate the need for animals.
Wow.
Altogether.
That's ambitious.
Right. Imagine that. Producing meat without relying on animals at all.
Yeah. I mean, if they can pull it off.
Right.
That would significantly address a lot of those ethical concerns about animal welfare in the food industry.
Yeah. It definitely makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
But let's be real.
Okay.
there are still some hurdles to clear. The video acknowledges that cultivated meat is pricey right now.
Right, yeah, of course.
But Ivy Farm is confident they can bring those costs down.
Okay.
To around like $10 to $15 per kilo.
Right.
About the same as traditional beef.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That cost is like a major factor.
It is.
Reach it, like that price parity with conventional meat. That'll be crucial for making this a viable option.
For sure.
For most people.
Right. And then there's the whole consumer perception hurdle.
Okay.
Will people actually want to eat?
Yeah. Eat meat grown in a lab.
Yeah. Ivy Farm believes that education is key. Like, explaining the process and the benefits transparently to address any ick factor.
It's like any new technology, right?
Yeah.
There's often like that initial hesitation before people understand and like embrace those potential benefits.
Totally.
Yeah.
And Ivy Farm's go-to-market strategy, it's pretty interesting.
Okay.
They're not going straight to grocery stores, but they're partnering with existing food companies to incorporate their cultivated meat into products that you probably already buy.
I see.
Yeah, that's a smart move, right?
Yeah. I mean, using like existing infrastructure and distribution networks could help get cultivated meat onto shelves and menus much faster.
Right. And they even mentioned a Gen 1 paste.
Yeah.
Like designed to be versatile.
That's interesting.
So that speaks volumes about their approach.
Definitely.
And while their target launch date is late 2025, there are those regulatory hoops to jump through.
Right.
They've submitted their products for approval in the US, UK, and Singapore.
Okay.
So lots of moving parts.
For sure. I mean, those regulatory hurdles are essential for ensuring food safety and building consumer trust.
Absolutely.
It all ties together, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Cost, consumer perception, and regulations, they all play a role in how this technology shapes the future of food.
We've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
Like what cultivated meat is, how it's made, and some of the challenges ahead.
Yeah.
But why is this even a thing?
Right.
Like, what's the bigger picture here?
Well, now we're getting to the heart of it.
Okay.
Remember all that talk about sustainable food solutions? Yeah. This is where cultivated meat comes in.
Right. Traditional livestock farming.
Yeah.
It has a significant impact on our planet. Greenhouse gases, deforestation, water usage. The list goes on.
The list goes on, yeah.
So could cultivated meat be the answer to reducing that impact while still enjoying meat?
Yeah, that's the potential game changer and why so many people are excited about this technology.
Yeah, we'll unpack those potential benefits and some potential drawbacks in just a moment.
Sounds good.
Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, stick around. So cultivated meat, it has the potential to really reduce greenhouse gas emissions compared to traditional livestock farming.
Great. It's a pretty stark contrast.
It is.
Like, imagine eliminating all that methane produced by cattle.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
A major contributor to climate change.
And think about all that land that we use for raising livestock. If we could produce meat in a lab, that land could be repurposed for other things, maybe even reforestation.
Exactly. And don't forget about water usage.
Oh, right.
Traditional meat production needs massive amounts of water for, feed crops and animal care.
Right.
Cultivated meat could drastically reduce those requirements.
So it sounds like a win for the planet.
Yeah.
Less land.
Less
water.
Less water.
Fewer emissions.
Fewer emissions.
But is it really that simple?
Well, it's important to look at the whole picture. Some critics, they argue that the energy needed to power these labs and bioreactors could offset some of those environmental gains.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So we can't just assume it's like a perfect solution.
Exactly.
We need to consider the entire life cycle.
The whole thing.
Yeah, of cultivated meat production from the energy sources to waste management
And remember, the technology is still developing. More research and innovation are needed to optimize everything and make it as sustainable as possible.
So it's not a silver bullet.
Right.
But it's definitely a conversation worth having.
Yeah, it is.
And it's not just about the environmental impact, right? Right?
It's not just that.
Animal welfare.
Yeah, animal welfare is
a big part of this, too.
A huge part of this.
Absolutely.
This is like a key argument for people who are proponents of cultivated meat. If we can make meat without raising and slaughtering animals, it could significantly reduce animal suffering.
It's a powerful idea.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the potential to
create
a food system
that's more
humane and ethical.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about ethical considerations,
while we're on that, there's another interesting question that researchers are thinking about.
Okay.
What about the cells themselves?
Oh, wow.
Do we need to consider
their
welfare? I hadn't really thought about it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
So right now, the science indicates that individual cells, they don't experience pain or suffering the same way a whole organism does.
Yeah. Okay.
But as the technology gets better, these are questions that will likely become even more complex.
It's like we're entering a whole new frontier.
A whole new frontier.
But not just scientifically,
but ethically as well.
Yeah. Exactly. So even if cultivated meat checks all the boxes. In terms of sustainability and ethics, will people actually?
Will people actually eat it?
Yeah. That's the
$1 million question.
It is.
Right.
You can have the best technology.
The most innovative.
In the world.
Yeah.
But if people aren't willing to try it.
It's not going anywhere.
It won't go anywhere.
Consumer acceptance is a huge hurdle.
It is a big one.
Right.
There's still a little bit of a yuck factor with lab-grown meat.
For some people,
For some people,
I get that. It's new. It's different. Change can be
different.
Scary.
Yeah.
But remember, not long ago, plant-based meat alternatives were seen as a novelty.
Right.
And now they're everywhere.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So what if we see a similar trajectory with cultivated meat?
Yeah. What if it becomes so commonplace that we don't even think twice about it?
The video actually shows Ivy Farm chefs creating all kinds of dishes with their cultivated beef, like bao buns, burgers, even gyoza.
They're really showcasing.
They're leaning into it, showcasing its culinary versatility.
It's smart. Food is so much about familiarity and comfort.
Right.
If they can integrate cultivated meat into dishes we already know. And love.
It might help people get over that initial hesitation.
And maybe it won't even be about explicitly choosing cultivated meat in the future. What if it's just seamlessly blended into existing products? Like that Gen 1 paste.
Like that.
They talked about. Imagine you're buying your favorite frozen lasagna and it contains both plant-based and cultivated meat. Blended perfectly for taste and texture. You might not even realize you're eating meat.
Exactly.
That was never
part of a living animal.
A living animal.
It's mind-bending.
It's a mind-bending concept, right?
It is.
It makes you wonder how these innovations could subtly reshape our food landscape.
Exactly. It's all about gradual shifts in consumer behavior.
Right.
Not necessarily expecting everyone
to change their habits overnight.
Totally.
And of course, the role of food companies and retailers.
Food companies.
Is crucial here.
Is huge.
They're the ones.
They're the gatekeepers.
Who decide what ends up on our grocery shelves.
On our shelves,
And restaurant menus.
Right. So
exactly.
If major food companies embrace this.
If they embrace cultivated meat.
Incorporating it.
And start incorporating it.
It could have a massive impact.
A huge impact.
On normalizing this.
For consumers. Partnerships and collaborations.
All about partnerships.
Our key companies like Ivy Farm. They need the support.
They need that support.
Of those larger players.
Of the big players.
To scale up production, distribution, and reach a wider audience.
Totally.
And who knows?
Who knows, maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Cultivated meat will be as common
as
plant-based alternatives are today.
Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. For more detail, you can visit our blog website www.evergreentechtips.com.